What's up, guys, and welcome to episode 5 of Bible Verse Breakdown. Now, before we get into the episode, know that I am relatively new to Christianity, so if I say something wrong or something that you disagree with, let me know in the comments down below. Now, the verse of the day is Matthew 25:40, which is spoken by Jesus, and it says this: I tell you the truth, just as you did for one of the least of these brothers or sisters of mine, you did it for me. Now, I remember first reading this verse, and it was actually through one of those Bible apps. And because it was through one of those Bible apps, it just gives you the verse itself, barely any context. And because I was barely given any context, I was kind of confused at first as to who the least of these were. Who were the least of these referring to? Then when I read it with context, I realized that the least of these refers to the invisible and the forgotten. The people that no one pays attention to. That kid who sits by himself during lunch because he has no friends. That homeless man that can't get a single person to even look at him. It is extremely dehumanizing to be excluded from society. And because of this, Jesus is telling us how you would treat the marginalized is how you would treat me. How you would treat the marginalized is how you would treat Jesus. When you make fun of that kid for not having friends and sitting by himself during lunch, you're also making fun of Jesus. When you choose to ignore the homeless man when he's asking for food during the wintertime out of your own ego, you are also ignoring Jesus. You're ignoring the Son of God. You can look at yourself in the mirror and say, yes, that's the image of God. But you also need to understand that that kid that has no friends and that homeless man are also created in the image of God. So we need to make friends with that kid who has no friends, and also to be humble to the homeless man, because we are called to do something for the people that have nothing. Christ is challenging us in this verse to not value people based off of what they can give us, what they can accomplish, or what they can do, but rather the simple fact that they are God's creation and they are created in the image of God. We are all created in the image of God, so when you make fun of another person, you're also making fun of God's creation and ultimately God himself. Now, some of you just heard that last sentence, didn't interpret anything else I said, and thought I was saying, hey, I can no longer, and you guys can no longer make fun of your best friends or mock or tease each other. But that is not what this verse is saying. This verse is not saying we can no longer make fun of each other as long as we're close friends. But just because this verse isn't saying that doesn't mean we shouldn't try and understand as to why we can make fun of our best friends, but not a random stranger. And to explain it from a social and psychological perspective, when dealing with humor, especially our close friends, it's this fine line in this dance between understanding and trusting one another. When we engage in any sort of emotional connection or act of trust, our brains release oxytocin. And oxytocin can actually bond multiple people together. So when you and your friends mock or tease each other in a friendly way, it actually triggers your brain to let itself know that your friendship with your friends is actually pretty strong. When you have that playful banter with your close friends, it reinforces the fact that you guys all have a strong emotional connection and that any sort of mocking or teasing comes from a place of affection rather than harm. Now the next question is, how can mocking someone come from a place of affection? I thought it was only a way of belittling someone. And that's partially true, but not completely true, because in certain scenarios, especially with your best friends, and when you're making fun of each other, but in shaky scenarios, it's your way of letting the other person know, letting your close friend know that, hey, I know you so well that we can joke about this together. I'm going to give you guys an example. Let's say your friend has this really big nose, this beak-sized nose, this toucan nose, whatever you call it, and he or she are super insecure about it, but you guys jokingly make fun of each other, tease each other, and by doing this, you actually make light of the situation. You turn this big insecurity into something that can be not such a big deal. It's your way of saying, hey, I see you, flaws and all, yet I still choose to love and accept you. And by doing this, it actually makes imperfections feel normalized it makes these imperfections not feel so embarrassing. Because none of us are perfect, and by joking to each other about our imperfections, it makes life so much easier. It doesn't make life so serious. But the context with a complete stranger, the emotional and social context, is completely different. We don't have that initial foundation of trust and understanding with a complete stranger. And because we don't have that initial foundation, our brain can easily misinterpret a joke or some sort of teasing as malicious intent. And it actually ruins that newfound relationship instead of creating that social bond. So if there isn't some sort of social cue or signal, it could mean, or your brain could misinterpret that joke as something that is threatening rather than friendly. So while we are all created in the image of God and we are called to show dignity to one another, science actually explains to us how our brains are socially wired and why we talk to people a certain way, whether it's a complete stranger or your best friends, and how those interactions are completely different and why they should be completely different. The Bible explains why they should be completely different, and science explains how they're completely different. All right, that's it for the end of the episode. Thank you so much for watching. And if you're new here, I do a gym edit at the end of the video after each week, showing my progress in the gym as I show my recovery process for my ACL. I feel like a freaking drone every time I say this because I say the same exact thing at the end of each video. It just feels completely robotic. But I'm just gonna keep saying it every video. You guys are gonna keep hearing it every video unless I have some sort of random comment. But if you stay till the end, thank you so much. If not, have a good one, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Tryna get my attention, tryna get your redemption, but now that I'm gone, you want me back. Yeah, I gave you everything, gave you a diamond ring to watch it fall from your head. I don't wanna love again, 'cause I'll be living with regret. I don't wanna love again, 'cause I'll be living with regret. And I don't wanna love again, 'cause I'll be living with regret. You came back to me, I don't drink or